The film begins in Bush State Prison, a maximum security institution located in the southeastern United States. Bill Boss, the warden, is infamous for his cruel and sadistic treatment of the inmates, and he is a hardcore cannibal who is always looking forward to consuming human flesh. In the introductory scene, he watches the gruesome film The Human Centipede 2 with his accountant, Dwight Butler. After the film has concluded, Bill complains that it was extremely dull and juvenile. However, according to his assistant Daisy, she adored it. She goes so far as to say that Bill's movie tastes are strange. This infuriates the cruel warden so much that he goes on a rant, claiming that women should not be allowed to express their opinions, especially if they believe it's acceptable to sew people's faces onto their buttocks. Bill and Dwight are eventually summoned to a scene where an inmate has presumably murdered someone. As they walk through the corridors, Dwight discloses that their prison has higher rates of recidivism, violence, and medical costs than any other U.S. institution. Correctional institution. He warns Bill that unless they take action to enhance these metrics, the governor will replace them. Bill, however, entirely disregards his counsel. "I'm in charge, darling. You choose to remain silent." Upon arriving at the scene of the assault, they discover that an inmate has stabbed one of the prison officers. Bill punishes him for this behavior by brutally stomping on his limb. He continues to beat the unfortunate man until his bones are exposed. Despite this, the prisoner pledges to repeat his actions once his broken bones have healed. Then, all of the captives begin treating him with disdain from their cells. They all unify in a deafening chorus, yelling that he should be executed for his heinous act of violence against the prisoners. When the shouting becomes even louder, an enraged Bill responds by discharging his gun randomly at them. He also yells from the rooftops that he merits respect. Bill, upon returning to his office, proposes and enumerates the reinstatement of medieval torture techniques. Daisy enters the room shortly thereafter carrying a parcel for Bill, and Dwight inquires about its contents. Bill reveals that it is a jar of specially imported dried female organs that he consumes for added stamina. Wow! Shortly thereafter, Bill receives a threatening phone call informing him that a death squad is on its way to murder him. This causes him to panic, so he closes his door quickly and hides beneath his desk. He believes the contact is genuine, implying that he has previously been threatened. However, Dwight remains undaunted and dials the number again. An officer on the other end of the line notifies him that one of the inmates made a prank call from a fictitious phone number. When Bill discovers this, he becomes enraged and orders the officers to detain the inmate. As punishment, he chooses to mercilessly waterboard the victim with 3 buckets of boiling water. "Let's go, darling," Billy Boss of the boiling boards. The governor arrives later that day to address the urgent matter of the prison's escalating violence. He warns Bill and his accountant that they will be terminated if they do not stop the behavior within 2 weeks. Bill, unable to contain his fury, hurls an obscenity-laced tirade at the governor as he leaves, unable to contain his frustration. Bill is unyielding in his desire to maintain control over the institution and impose his own brand of justice, despite the governor's warning. As part of his perverse methods of punishment, Bill instructs Dwight to release the captives into the yard's sweltering heat. As usual, the inmates are disorderly and disobedient, disregarding Bill's megaphone commands. When he announces that one of them will be castrated, however, the majority of them fell silent. "Baby, Billy Ball is going to bite your testicles, so you should be on the lookout. He then chooses the prisoner who had previously spoken negatively about him and performs the barbaric act of castration himself. After concluding the gruesome procedure, Bill washes his face with the victim's blood to demonstrate his complete lack of remorse and sick sense of satisfaction. Even further, he consumes the victim's test, regarding it as an energy source. In the scene that follows, Bill pays a visit to the detainees receiving medical treatment at the clinic, including the one he castrated. As he examines the prisoner, he informs the doctor that beginning the following day, all prisoners will be castrated en masse. The bulls for abusers are owned by Bilbus. Dwight proposes a remedy to improve the prison's appalling retention and violence rates to Bill later that evening. He proposes stitching all captives together, mouth to butt, to form a massive human centipede that would serve as the ultimate deterrent against crime. Excellent concept, Dwight. Yeah. Dwight also discloses that Daisy has spoken with the directors of Human Centipede 2, who have verified that the film is accurate from a medical standpoint. However, Bill deems the proposal unfeasible, and consequently fires Dwight in a fit of rage. Before leaving his office, the latter hurls profanities at Bill in retaliation. This infuriates the sadistic warden to the point where he snatches his megaphone and yells insults and slurs into the air, despite the fact that no one is present to hear him. After being abused and tormented, Bill has a terrifying nightmare in which he is encircled and attacked by the same inmates. In his dream, he shows vulnerability and weakness by pleading for mercy, but his pleas for help fall on deaf ears as he is brutally handled by the inmate he previously castrated. The following morning, Bill learns that Tom Six, director of Human Centipede 2, will be arriving at the facility. Dwight also returns, pleading with Bill one last time to consider his concept for a human centipede as a deterrent against crime and violence in the prison. If it fails, he promises to quit his position himself. The discussion about the human centipede begins upon Tom's arrival. Tom presents a comprehensive report written by an Amsterdam surgeon to demonstrate the medical validity and practicability of the centipede concept. The prison doctor investigates the report, verifies its validity, and elaborates on how the centipede could function. This ultimately persuades Bill, and he agrees. Bill determines to show the inmates the previous 2 Human Centipede films as a warning for what is to come in the next scene. After the film concludes, he enters the room and announces that all prisoners will undergo the same procedure. This revelation immediately causes a commotion. As the inmates begin to respond violently, they pursue Bill and Dwight to their office, where they pummel Daisy unconscious. Dwight dispatches the armed soldiers as an emergency backup, while Bill escapes by leaping from a window. Now, Billy's supervisor is leaving. Eventually, the backup arrives and successfully corrals all the captives. Once the situation has stabilized, Dwight informs Bill of Daisy's grievous injuries. However, Bill is only interested in receiving medical care for himself. He then strides out into the prison yard and declares that everyone's lives will become a living hell. Later, Bill initiates his plan to transform the captives into an enormous human centipede. He proceeds from cell to cell, tranquilizing each prisoner before delighting in the sight of the officers transporting them away. The scene then shifts to the medical ward, where Bill describes the procedure in detail to the attending physician. During the operation, the doctor mentions that one of the detainees has explosive diarrhea. In response, Bill suggests attaching him to the prisoner he had previously castrated. This is so revolting. In addition, incompatible prisoners are shot and killed during the procedure because they do not meet the requirements. Bill and Dwight visit Daisy, who is now in a coma, later that day. Bill insists on keeping her close by, despite Dwight's suggestion that she be transferred to a superior hospital. The day following Bill is adamant that the human prison centipede take place in the yard, where the warden can observe it. He instructs his accountant to make the essential arrangements during his prison visit. Bill and Dwight, overcome with enthusiasm, engage in some role-playing, with Bill pretending to be the governor and congratulating himself on the idea. However, Dwight reminds him that he was the original creator of the concept. Tom later arrives at the penitentiary to inspect the human centipede's operation. During a tour of the cells, the party encounters a mentally unstable inmate who consumes his own feces and wishes to join the centipede. Bill is enraged and executes him immediately, as he does not want anyone to take delight in this grotesque punishment. The group then proceeds to the operating chamber, where an operation is in progress. Tom observes as death row inmates are mutilated and sewn together as part of a purportedly special project. He experiences vertigo and vomiting. This is due to the horrifying aspect. A few days later, when the governor returns to the prison, he discovers Bill and Dwight looking exceedingly delighted. Bill responds that they have accomplished something wonderful and unique, to which he is asked what they have done to cause such a drastic change in attitude. The governor is then led to a large yard where he is presented with a 500-person centipede. Bill is extremely proud of his creation, but Dwight is devastated when he discovers that Daisy was stitched into the centipede by accident. In addition, they have created a human caterpillar by stitching together death row and life sentence inmates. In contrast to human centipedes, the limbs of these captives have been amputated, rendering them immobile and resembling a caterpillar. The governor is utterly horrified by what he sees. Then, they transport him to the clinic room where a prisoner whose sentence has been completed is residing. Bill uses this occasion to highlight the minor injuries the prisoners sustain after their release, implying that this is a humane method of punishment. However, the governor is horrified by what he witnesses and determines that Bill and Dwight should be executed. Bill attempts to deflect responsibility by blaming his accountant, but the governor will have none of it. Bill realizes the gravity of the situation as soon as he departs. Oh no! Billy employer is in trouble, dude. And next second contemplates committing the unthinkable. However, he alters his mind and points the gun at Dwight, blaming him for everything. However, just before he pulls the trigger, the prison doctor enters and begins laughing at their futile attempts. Bill, filled with fury, shoots and instantly kills the doctor. In contrast, after some reflection, the governor returns to the prison with an unanticipated change of heart. He now believes that the controversial centipede punishment is exactly what the United States needs and even claims that it would increase his chances of becoming president. Before departing, the governor congratulates Bill, who was instrumental in bringing about the centipede punishment. Bill and Dwight celebrate their victory with elation, knowing that their careers are now safe. Billy Boltz is enjoying himself, folks. However, when Dwight attempts to take credit for the idea, Bill shoots and kills him so that he can claim all the credit. Himself. I did not anticipate that outcome. In the final scene, we see Bill standing naked while gazing out over the gargantuan centipede and shrieking with ecstasy over his achievements.